Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. We are going to give a few minutes here at the top of the hour for some more people to get in and get situated. But thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully, you're in the right place. This is the webinar on the hidden job market, and we are excited to spend the next hour with you all. Jill, do you mind going to the next slide while we wait for a few more people?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So real quick, if you want to drop in the chat, just your name, where you're located, and what industry you're coming from or looking for. Always like to build community here. So if you want to also drop your LinkedIn around there too, we'd love to kind of connect and just kind of see how we can support each other in the future. And for this presentation, we do ask if you could remain on mute. We will have time for a question and answer at the end, and the chat will be monitored, but just to respect the speakers, if you could mute yourself, that'd be really helpful. But yeah, we'd love to see where everybody's tuning into us from. Great to see you, Tara. Hi, Nicole, New York.
Hey, everybody. Love this. Got a nice big group today.
And thank you for dropping the LinkedIn's too. Feel free to connect with each other. Again, we're all about community here, so would love that. Jill, if you want to go ahead to the next slide, we can go ahead and just get started with everything. We'll keep monitoring everything. So our light agenda today, real quick, just some ground rules and logistics. We'll do quick introductions of our speakers, jump into the meat and potatoes of everything, the hidden job market, and then the next step from that, which is networking and new ways to rethink about that and reframe how you approach networking. A Q&A at the end, and then we'll talk through some potential next steps. So real quick, my name is Justice, and I am one of the relationship strategists here at the team. And what my job is to assist new members with making sure they're with the right membership option, as well as the right coach to support them on their coaching journey. And I will talk a little bit more about that at the end in case anybody likes what they hear and want to figure out what that next step could be for them. But just wanted to introduce myself before we go into everything else. So Jill, if you want to continue, please. Go back for me, please.
Sorry.
You got it. Perfect. So quick ground rules, they're just light, common things. Be present. You signed up for this. Give us an hour. Try to minimize the distractions around you so you can really get the most out of this. Respect each other here. This is a safe space and there are no bad ideas. So feel free to keep going in the chat. I'll be monitoring that and we'll kind of just take it from there. Jill, you can go to the next one. So logistics, today's session will be recorded and will be sent out afterwards. So you will receive a recap email. We'd love to see your face. So if you could turn on your camera, that'd be great just to really help us engage with you throughout the presentation. As I mentioned, the chat will be monitored. And as things come up that I think will be applicable, we'll kind of politely stop Jill and Lisa to chat about that. Jill, I believe there's one or two more. Like I said, there will be a Q&A at the end. And like I said, be present and feel free to take notes. This is your time and feel free to reach out to us and ask us anything at all that you might need. But with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to our coach, Lisa, who is an Alma La Vida coach, and Jill, who is a former Alma La Vida coach, but stayed connected in the industry as a recruiting professional. So going to hand things over to them, and I will be monitoring the chat if we do need anything at all. But handing it over to you, Lisa, first.
Thank you, Justice. And first of all, it is such a pleasure to work with Justice and Jill. They are phenomenal. So I think all of us are going to have a good time today. But my name is Lisa Alley, and I'm a certified career coach, certified resume coach, certified interview coach, lots of certifications about coaching. But I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I feel as a coach, helping people find their next job and moving forward in their career is kind of like helping someone scale a mountain without a map. Where do you start? What do you do? How do you deal with the climate of the job search, whether it's in a good climate or a bad climate? That's what I'm here for. So I kind of show you the path, what kind of industry, what kind of roles are really going to help you survive and thrive, hand you the gear in terms of resources, and guide you to that peak or where you want to go. How do I do that? I do it with helping you review and write your resumes, LinkedIn, leveraging LinkedIn, talking about job search strategies, certainly the hidden job market, and of course, interview prep and salary negotiation. I started my career as a dental hygienist and I hated it. Hated it. And then I opened my own business, grew it to a couple $1 million company, a couple locations, lots of temporary employees, sold it, stayed home with my kids, went back to school at 50. I was the oldest person in my master's program. They were my kids' age in my program, graduated, went on into nonprofit, specifically homeless youth, and was an executive director there. So why did I tell you all that? Because I know what it's like to pivot. I know what it's like to not like your job and go forth to something else and try it and hope that it's going to work out. And it does. So that's me. I also work for La Vida, and I'm a career coach. I'm going to go off script for a minute, which is going to make everyone nervous. But here's what I want you all to know. I love La Vida. I love being a coach for La Vida. Not only do I get to learn and to communicate and collaborate with these exceptional, brilliant other coaches that have other focuses and expertise where I can share information, share clients, so they get the absolute best coaching experience that they can get. But now I'm working for an organization where it's respectful and supportive and collaborative. And I would just want you to know that it's possible to love your job and to love where you work. And that's what we also try to help you in coaching, is to find that as well. So that's me. Okay, Jill, over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. So I'm Jill. Like Justice said, I'm a former Vida coach. And through my own journey, I have hopped around. I call myself a career pivoter pretty much. But starting off in PR and then transitioning to sales, coaching, and now recruiting. As you can see, anything but linear. But with that, I've also navigated layoffs. I have also been in jobs where I've been unhappy and pivoting from there. But really, what has helped me throughout all of this, is learning different skills and learning more about myself. A lot of trial and error and figuring different things out about me, but then also about the direction that I want to go. And it takes a lot of leaps of faith, right? And it was a lot of failures, but recognizing all of that really helps to just be more confident in your search. And with that, the one thing that I would say that I was utilizing throughout my career, I didn't even realize it until it was coined, I don't even know how long ago, but was the hidden job market. Every single job that I have had throughout my 15 plus years of professional career has been through connections. I might be an outlier by saying that I have never once gotten a job through an online application, but that just shows the power of, it can work. And so with that, let's just dive right in. So first things first, the job search market, the playbook changed. You did not. You are not imagining it. It is significantly more challenging than it has been. And and especially with automation and AI and the uncertainty of the economy and all these different factors, I would probably weigh more on the side of AI and automation, but job seekers and hiring teams are beyond overwhelmed. And I'm sure all of you feel that. I felt that myself as well. And just a year ago, almost to the date, I found myself looking for work as well. And I'll talk about this in a little bit, but I just want to plant the seed that do not let this time of year discourage you. I had some of the best networking conversations and, through this time, and it's just, I know there's a lot of things slowed down, roles still need to be filled. So just wanted to at least mention that. But so with that, we're going to be talking about the hidden job market and what that looks like. But really the most important thing is setting some foundational work first. And so with that, I would love to get a poll going, which I'll put this up right now, would love to know, just get a little pulse check of where everyone is currently at in their search. And this will also help me and Lisa, talk to different points and different examples. I have been all of these positions. So, all right. So a lot of, okay. Okay. So most unemployed, actively looking, a little bit employed, actively looking. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you for that. Like I said, this will help, me and Lisa kind of tailor, some of our examples and everything. So, okay, great. All right. So I can just do a quick share in case anyone was curious, but awesome. Okay, great. And so jumping right ahead of that. So why does the job search feel so personal? Why does it feel so hard? And, a lot of things. So one of them being, when you think about it, job search, it's a series of micro losses. There's not a lot of, when you get little, you have a conversation or someone connects or you get that, that initial phone screen, it's exciting, it's a little nervous, but really it's a series of a lot of micro losses. And we feel that you build up hope, you get really excited, you picture yourself, in the role, and then there's silence or rejection, but it creates that pattern of grief, but it's not failure. It's not failure. And so I just want to at least highlight that because a lot of what we feel personally, we think it's us, or, I should have said this differently or should have done that first, whatever it might be, is a lot of what feels personal is actually more operational. So, and it's a lot of out of our control. It does not have to do with you guys as candidates, but and I've been part of these conversations as a recruiter. Budgets get taken away, leadership changes, misalignments and leadership changes, restructuring, layoffs, bandwidth. Sometimes teams are just, they don't have enough people to enough capacity to, keep with the search. So just note that is that if things go silent and even the ghosting, I know with recruiters, it's the forever, frustration of being ghosted, but just know it's either just not the best recruiter or not the best manager that's not communicating with recruiters. So I just like to point out both sides because, it helps to be a little bit more aware of that. And also the biological layer, our brain treats uncertainty as a threat. And so if we're constantly in that space, then, we're constantly in that uncertainty, so that's why it feels so emotionally draining and, just emotionally, physically draining as well. So just give yourself some grace and remember that, just focus on what we can control, because you are not the problem. The system is. And, we are, especially just with so much with AI and automation and, all of that, is the job market, it shifted quickly and kind of quietly, and everyone's trying to keep up with it. Hiring teams, candidates as well. And online applications are built for efficiency, not fairness. I know that could be its own topic, but and also with that, you only see the tip of the iceberg when it comes to available roles. And that's, of course, a lot of what we'll talk about today. So it can feel very reactive. But once you start to realize that it's not necessarily all on you or all on us, it becomes a lot easier just to change your mindset and, how we look at this. So with that, so this is just a lot of people will think about the job search, as an event that happens, and so we suddenly flip the switch and I'm in job search mode now. So it's like, I need a job, so I'll start looking right now. But more sustainable way of looking at it is, job search is opportunity system. So it means that it's an ongoing relationship. You're always building those relationships, even when you're not looking for work. And the point, of course, we'll dig into this further, but, when you don't want to always start from zero, anytime you're looking for work. And the goal is to just be more proactive and reduce depending on those job boards over time. So that way, the next time that there is a new role or whatever it might be, you've already got a warm network to lean on and connect with. And so with reframing, this is networking, Dun dun dun. The topic that is a little can be uncomfortable, but none of the other stuff, the hidden job market, anything else, none of that's going to matter if we do not change our mindset, how we approach networking, how we think about networking, because networking is the differentiator, and especially in the job market that we're in right now. And so with that, again, this is just more of reframing how I think about it. So networking, it's not just you're bothering a bunch of people or you're asking for a job. It's you're curious and you are looking for information and more clarity around your job search. It's aligning yourself with teams and groups and networks that, shares the same interest. And so think of kind of more of networking as alignment, structured curiosity. And so that helps to, again, just kind of think about it in a different way. You're seeking out information. You're just curious about it. And also with that, people enjoy helping out. They like to share their knowledge. They like to share their expertise. And so that curiosity also can build trust, and people remember that. People remember when you're genuinely interested in, seeking that out. And you are not just asking for, a job, right? Like I said before, it's more information, and you'll know, I'm sure everyone has networked here before, but you can tell when there's people who are abundantly generous or people who are a little bit more tight-lipped or whatever it might be, but read those cues and, lean into the relationships that you feel comfortable and confident in. And that's where I think the switch for me is you're trying to meet all these people and try and learn all these things, but if you just focus on the right jobs and right opportunities, just so you don't burn yourself out, that's always going to be helpful. And one of the other things I actually just learned myself not too long ago is no matter what, we as job seekers, and I say we because I was just in the job search just 6 months ago, is we think that we might go into a networking event or conversation with, I don't know how to ask for this. I'm just asking for information. I don't know what to offer. You all have value to offer. And whether it is your network, whether it's your experience, referrals, just recognizing that you have a lot more value to offer in that, in those type of situations. So that was just a nice little, mindset shift that I experienced myself, because I was like, I'm a job seeker. I need work. What do I have to offer? But everyone has some value to offer. And Lisa, I know that you talk about networking with your clients all the time, and it's one of those, it's a muscle. It's not, we can't just only use it when we need it. So I'm sure if you have, sharing any sort of like client stories or a quick story about your personal experience with networking.
First of all, networking is such a huge part of your job search, like Jill said. And I think I saw a statistic not too long ago that 70% of the people will find a job, their next great job, through their network. And it's not easy. It's not a one and done. Talk to a couple of people. It's a job in itself, networking. So I want to share with you this really inspiring story that happened to me as a career coach. It was back in 2021. Remember those days, COVID? A lot of people were being let go. One of my clients back then worked for a large company. It was her first job right out of school. She'd only had a year of experience and they let her go. Not uncommon. We had a lot of tears in those sessions. More crying, I think, than anything else. It's just part of the process, the grief process. But she really wanted to work in a luxury retailer or a manufacturer like Louis Vuitton, Rolex, and Ann Taylor, Gucci. That's where she wanted to work. Didn't really have any experience, but that was going to be her dream job, dream company. So through the tears, we set up a networking strategy. And she'd never networked before. She didn't know how to network. She didn't know what to say. We worked on all of that. And she only had a year of experience. She was probably in her early 20s. She ended up making a list and contacting every C-suite individual with every luxury product out there. And it took her weeks, and she did. And she had a nice little note. We're going to talk about this later on today about when you're in the hidden job market and what you should say. But she reached out, I would say at least 100 people that she didn't know. And she got probably 15 at most C-suite individuals responding to her. So I know what you're thinking about. Well, did she get a job? Did she get a job with one of these C-suite? No, she didn't. But one of those people she talked to said, we have a vendor that we all use, and you should try them. And if you'd like, I'll make a referral. That happened. She got the job. She's still there. I see her all the time commenting on every C-suite luxury provider out there. She's still not letting go. And the top of this is that here she didn't have a job. Here she only had a year experience. She got this great job offer. But then she said, I want a $10,000 raise. She's the client. We set something up. Jill knows what I'm talking about, salary negotiation when you do it. And she got a $10,000 bonus with this new job. So that's the importance of networking, no matter how old you are. Okay, I just wanted to share that with you.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, I love that. I love that. And referrals. Yeah, referrals are everything. Because we said it, networking is the differentiator. And to, you know, Lisa's point, the thing with networking is you going into it with a completely open mind, and just, you never know where conversations are going to lead. Someone might know someone, or their husband or partner, whoever it is. You never know where conversations are going to go. But I would love to know in the chat box, you know, if anyone here has either found out about a job through referrals or your network that's not necessarily posted, or have even landed a job that hasn't, you know, just through your own connections and referrals. But would love to hear it. Just type it in the chat box. Justice will share some, if anyone has had that experience before. Or maybe have heard about it from anyone. And if not, that's fine.
We got in every job I've ever landed was from someone I've known.
Huh. There you go. So it's not just me. Yeah.
Twice in my career. Yep. First job out of college I found out about.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. Well, that's good. Like I said, you know, and it's not necessarily, you know, an entire career per se. But, you know, it sounds like people, or maybe you have even known, you know, someone getting a job or learning about a job. So that's great, because it works. Good. All right. All right. So moving forward. So why networking beats the cold applications? You know, hiring someone new, it's risky for companies, and it's expensive. You know, they're you know, betting a lot on someone new. And warm introductions reduce that perceived risk. It's not always a perfect fit, right? I've had plenty of referrals and, you know, different conversations with hiring managers where, you know, it's a good conversation, might not be a great fit, but any warm introduction, you think about it for yourself, anyone that you personally know that you want to vet for, you know, stick your neck out for, just helps when you already know them. And exactly, managers are going to tap their own networks first, because a lot of these conversations about needs and challenges or gaps in headcount or workforce, whatever it is, a lot of those conversations are happening well before they even budget out a role. You know, so managers are naturally going to tap their own networks first, and, you know, see who they knew. Because when you do have that trusted relationship, networking, it puts you inside those conversations early. So that's the thing, you know, if they're thinking, oh, you know, I really need, you know, you know, UX designer, or, oh, you know, I know someone like that. Okay, yeah, well, let's think about that. You know, remember, so that way when the role actually does come to fruition and actually is, you know, budgeted for, you know, you can be one of those early names thrown into the mix before it even goes public. So what networking is and is not. So networking, I kind of did a little bit backwards, but all good. So short target hours, just very intentional. The purpose of this is it's thoughtful, it's intentional. You're adding value where you can. Might be sharing, reposting an article, or even if you see company news, at a target company you want, refer back to that. Hey, I saw that you just got that recent funding, huge congrats. Would love to learn more about, the potential growth of, your team. Or even just congratulating someone. It's intentional, offering something. It's not just collecting business cards, not just sending connection requests to thousands of people on LinkedIn. And it's for everyone. It's for everyone. And also with that, to note is it really is, it's a long-term game. And, in networking, those relationships compound over time too, right? It's not just like a quick transaction. It certainly is. It's relationships that compound over years. People move companies and you follow them. There's a lot of different opportunities, where you can get into the mix and just being able to provide that value. And like I said, networking is a muscle, something you can't just use it when you need it. But the more that you implement it, the more you get used to it, the more naturally it's going to come, and then with that, you're going to be able to naturally embed yourself into the hidden job market. Like I mentioned before those roles even really start forming. And then Lisa, I know you had a comment, just about networking within your company as well. Do you want to?
To me, networking, and Jill, you really nailed it when you said it takes time. It's not something that you do right away. It's building relationships, and building relationships don't happen overnight. I always look at it like watering a plant. You plant the seed and you can't expect the seed to be a plant the next day. It's just kind of a constant watering, constant monitoring to grow those relationships. That's really going to help you. And not only is networking important externally, LinkedIn, and we're going to talk about that, but what about internally? People forget about that. Who are you networking inside your organization right now? Are you creating mentors? Are you creating colleagues and discussions with people in different areas? Why is that important? Because these great people will leave and you want them to remember you because you may want to go to that organization. They are your in and you've already planted that seed. Or you want to grow within the organization, and having those relationships and having those coffee breaks and supporting people when they have wins is a great way for them to remember you when they want to hire someone for their team. That's the power of networking.
Yes. I love that. I love that. So, what is the hidden job market? So when I first heard hidden job market, whenever that term started getting tossed around, it really did sound like some very super exclusive, expensive LinkedIn upgrade. I literally thought it was a feature of some like LinkedIn, like an upgrade on LinkedIn. But of course, with that, it simply just refers to jobs that form internally before they ever come public. And so that could look like internal moves. So, employees leaving, employees moving around, lateral moves, promotions, also employee referrals. So we were talking about, the power of referrals. Also, or even jobs that are created around the right person, right? If a team's identifying a potential need or a challenge and they have the right, they have someone or someone was already in their network and they're like, oh my gosh, Lisa, she's excellent at this. Let's reach out to her, and see where it could be, you actually pitching yourself for that. That's a whole other topic. And there's also the confidential search, which not entirely in anyone's control besides the hiring team and the recruiter. It is there, but there's not much that we can do on our end. But those are just different examples of technically what the hidden job market is. And so with that, like I said, the hidden job market, it's not necessarily, a tangible job board per se. It's kind of more of a mindset shift and how we think about that, how we perceive the job market, and instead of reacting to those job postings, just getting ahead of the game, being a little bit more proactive. And so with that, there's, hidden means secret, or it doesn't mean secret. It means early. So like I said, positioning yourself, that's where you can be more visible. But once you understand how to spot those different, which we'll talk about the signals in a second here, just being able to position yourself. You want to be part of those conversations earlier on. So that positions you as being more proactive instead of, more reactive. So how can we set ourselves up for success here? So I always like to think of this as it's career risk management. So keeping your network warm while you like your job. This was advice I got, I don't even know how long ago, and it has stuck with me because that's the time where you feel more confident. You're not so much in that I need something from someone. You're just really excited about your job. You have a lot to offer. You're, kind of thinking about it a little bit differently, and being visible in your field. So online presence, physical presence, attending events, attending networking events in person, if you can, just contributing in different ways, and referrals, even if you know someone, or I might know someone who knows someone, just being visible in different ways, but that's authentic to you, that feels good for you. Because, just making it easier for others to remember what you do, and what you're good at. And that can come from content or what you say, on LinkedIn or whatever it is, but it really is just how you are showing up and how you're presenting yourself, in that space, and showing up consistently as well. And then with that, a little bit more tangible is, watching for hiring signals, because this is something that I use as a recruiter looking for, new business and business development, but then also for candidates as well. Because hiring signals, so these are different things like resignation, someone resigns, someone gets promoted, there's leadership changes, funding rounds, mergers and acquisitions, all of these, operational expansions, all of these different things signal, okay, there's some movement, people are going to be hiring, so kind of just keeping an eye out for that. And we'll talk about how and where to, look for that, but job clusters as well. So this is big. I see this a lot now as, as companies hiring across the board. You'll see there might be finance, ops, sales, even if it's not in your department or in your field, if there are multiple hires across different departments, reach out to someone who is in your field, say, hey, congrats on all of the growth, and, is there, just being curious, is there, what does this mean for the marketing team? What does this mean for the sales team? So using those hiring signals is, kind of gets you in the conversation early, and like I said before, these internal conversations are already being had, and most teams, they want to hire someone that they know, right? They don't want to go through the whole hiring process, and interview hundreds of people. And so this is your opportunity, be able to spot those signals, position yourself early, have those early conversations, it's, you want to be that referral. And so then where we can spot these signals, you are the LinkedIn guru. But yeah, if you want to touch on where we can spot these signals, help out.
Jill. So are you all on LinkedIn as much as you should be? Because you should be on there. If you're really looking, you should be on there every day. But are you leveraging it successfully? Because LinkedIn is the hidden market minefield. And there's so much opportunity there. So, for example, company signal interest pages. How many of you have gone to the company a dream company? You haven't found a job posted from them, but you'd love to work there. Depending on the size of the company, usually mid-level to Fortune 50, have these buttons. So if you go to Disney or Salesforce, let's say, if you go to Salesforce to their page on LinkedIn and you click on their about and you scroll down, you will see, are you interested in our organization? And it tells you people who click this button will have 2 times a better chance of being contacted by a recruiter. So basically you click that, and I think it's good for a year. So now a recruiter has been pinged about your interest in their organization. It's that easy. How many of you are doing that right now? I don't know how many are or aren't, but I hope you're going to start. Now, do all companies have this? No, it's for larger companies, but they pay a lot of money for that button. So they're going to use it. So I hope that's now part of your hidden market job search. Number two, going to your network, right? If you have 500 plus connections, you've got a lot of them. But have you been leveraging those connections? And I know some of you who have worked with me in the past who are on here, you know what I'm talking about. You go to your page, up on top it says My Network. You click on that. It will show you on the left-hand side all of your connections. And if you have LinkedIn Premium, and if you don't have it, sign up for the 30-day free trial period. You can hit filters, and then you can filter your entire connections on who's hiring for what roles. And you can see that because it'll pop up, and then a lot of them have that little frame, I'm hiring on it. And most people don't even know about it. And let's say, okay, great. I'm a career coach, but I'm really looking to go into data. So I don't have anybody in my network who's a first connection, who's available, who has any job openings. But what if I go to my second connections? Second connections means you have a mutual connection. That's going to open it up tremendously. And so now I might say, hey, Jill is my mutual connection, and she knows somebody at Salesforce who is hiring. What am I going to do? I'm going to reach out to my network, Jill, my friend, and I'm going to say, Jill, I would love a referral to Justice. And would you send a referral, or can I use you as a referral and use you in a message to Justice? Most likely she'll say yes.
Hey,
That's how you're using that hidden job market in LinkedIn that most people don't know about. Okay.
a question on
So
that, Lisa. Are you able to filter by industry by chance?
yes, you are. Industry by company, just so many different filters are on there. Now you have to have LinkedIn Premium for that. But again, if you don't have it, sign up for the free 30 days. Yeah, great question. Okay, besides that, then we have team and department pages. So two ways to use that. If you apply for a position, I'd love to hear what Jill thinks of this because she's the recruiter expert. So you go to the position, you apply to it, and then you don't want to just give up there. No, there's a whole other hidden market you need to tap. Then you go to someone in that department, and you can either choose maybe someone that you have a commonality with. You can sort by school, location, position, and say, hey, Justice, I just applied for a position at Ama La Vida. I would love to talk to you about working there and what your thoughts are. Or you can go to Nicole, who was on here earlier, and she's, one of the founders. Hey, Nicole, I just applied for a position at Ama La Vida, and I know that you're one of the owners. I would love the privilege of talking to you for a few minutes. Don't just apply for a position and move on. Start contacting people within that organization and have them help you with that. Because they might say, well, what's your rec number, or what's your confirmation number? You can give it to them, and they can, most likely, Jill, you tell me about this, they can pull your resume from it. So I'm going to stop there so Jill can talk a little bit more about it, because I think this is such an important part of the job hidden market aspect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've done that. I've done
that where I've posted jobs, and I've had candidates reach out, and I've had candidates message me, just say, hey, I just applied for this job, really interested. Now, if I have to sort through hundreds of applicants, I might at least note that. But the ones that reach out with, hey, Jill, I just applied for for the sales position. I know that you're looking for 5+ years of experience. I know that you're looking for, experience with HubSpot and in the food manufacturing business. I have this. And so those where you take the extra step, because not everyone's doing that. There's easy apply, there's mass apply. So if you can position yourself in that sense of like, hey, even if you want to, you can include your resume in that too, because the recruiter, you got tons of applications to look for. So if you can even just personalize that note and really hit on the requirements, and you don't, not all of them, right? But just the more important ones, submit your resume. That goes a long way. Doesn't always get, again, the only thing is it has to be a good recruiter to be able to recognize that, but it really does. It can make a big difference there.
Thank you for that, because this is your area of expertise. And then a couple of other hidden market areas on LinkedIn that you want to look at is, if you're interested in Salesforce and Amalavita and Disney and all those, you want to start following those companies, right? So then when they start posting any kind of post, that's where you can tell, oh, someone was promoted. Just like Jill said earlier, she's so spot on that, oh my goodness, Justice was promoted to supervisor. There's a role maybe available. I need to follow up with that. Or, we've had, I don't know, changes in our organization. We acquired a new company. That there's growth. Everything that Jill mentioned earlier is so spot on, and you can find it on LinkedIn. So consider that, those growth posts, those company posts, and then recruiter posts. I'm going to throw it back to you, Jill, because I know what I'm thinking, but you know exactly what to tell people to help them out with that. So please go ahead.
Yeah. And it's, and with that, it's keeping an eye on, at least, I mean, you can comment on those posts, you can refer back to those posts. But there can be, just keeping an eye on what is, I guess, if you are connected with a recruiter, you might see it, but being able to reference that, that is, and with that, if it is keeping an eye out. So taking a step further is that if it is, let's say, recruiters posting a lot of, marketing positions, you might not be, in the field or the exact industry that you are in or whatever it might be. But if they're posting a lot of marketing roles or a lot of HR roles, again, might not be perfect fits, reach out to that recruiter. Also taking into consideration, we have a lot of people reaching out. So the more intentional and the more personalized you can get, like, hey, my name's Jill. I'm really interested in your company, or maybe not necessarily interested in your company, but I saw your post about, the marketing roles. I'm in marketing myself. I'd love to connect and just to kind of learn more about, the people that you work with. And even just starting those conversations. Again, not all recruiters are going to do that, but the ones that do, the ones that really genuinely want to help and support, keep those relationships warm. I can't tell you how many, I can't emphasize that enough, and that goes to anyone in networking, anyone in your own network. Lean into the people who really, really want to help, because they're the connectors. They're the ones that are doing this for, other people that they care about. So. All right. Are you, I was gonna say, I lost Lisa in my corner, but so with that, and like I said, there's so many different ways you can read that and read between the lines, even in job descriptions. Sometimes job descriptions will give something away, helping with, like a merger and acquisition, or, helping with expansion plans or capital projects, CapEx projects. It's like, okay, so that means that they're building out that, just looking for those different clues. They're in there, and not a lot of people are using those. And then also where you can find those hidden networks outside of LinkedIn. Lisa, if you wanted to talk to these real quick, I just want to also make sure we have time for Q&A at the end.
Absolutely. So I'm going to, these are all platforms that you can use. And I'm going to, so if we can, yeah, there we go. The Frank Network is not really a platform. It stands for friends, relatives, acquaintances, neighbors, kid connections.
Love that one.
Most people forget that. Do you know that some of my early career clients don't tap into their parents' network? Because a lot of times their parents have kind of, got to maybe a leadership position, And they have a lot of position, a lot of opportunities and lots of friends. I'll say, go to your dad's or go to your mom's LinkedIn page and look at their connections, start sorting through those. That's a wealth. I mean, what parent isn't going to help their child? Conversely, I have actually contacted my son, who's in HR for a large company, and said, hey, can you help me make this connection? I mean, what's he going to do? He's my son.
Yeah.
So, friends want to help you. They know you're good. Family wants to help you. Acquaintances that you come across that you have a conversation with, a lot of times they'll help you. Your neighbors, they might be working in the exact company you want to work for. So consider that. Alumni groups. Alumni groups, not only can you join them outside of LinkedIn, but LinkedIn has a million alumni groups. You should be joining that and posting in alumni groups. Hey, I'm looking for a position. And if you're not currently employed, here's my resume. Make sure you take off your telephone number and email. Message me. I would love to have some thoughts and suggestions. Start that conversation. Industry associations. I think the PMI or PMP, that's one of the biggest associations, and they have a job board, and most professional associations have job boards attached. Plus, you can reach out to the president of those associations, have some conversations, and they're more than happy usually to connect you with people in your area or in a company that you're interested in if they too are members. Conferences, bring those. If you don't have a business card, make your own personal business card. Looking for a job. These are my top 5 accomplishments. These are my skill sets, and hand them out at these conferences. Slack channels. Do
Real
you
quick,
know? I'm sorry.
no, real quick. One thing I want to add on industry, or excuse me, alumni groups or LinkedIn groups of all. You can go into there, and it's not necessarily a filter, but there's a search bar where you can type in keywords, companies, or anything else. So you can even
Nice.
look at the alumni group that's hundreds of thousands of people and hone into your specific industry. So that's something else that you can do, and that you can do without LinkedIn Premium. So that's a free feature.
Yes.
Love
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. That
Love
is
that.
excellent. And then there's Slack channels. If you're involved with Alma La Vida, you should be on our Slack channel and start talking to people. Hey, okay, does anybody work in this industry or know anybody in this industry? Alma La Vida Slack channel is the kindest, warmest. I don't know, Justice, you're on there more than I do. They're wonderful people. You are missing out on an opportunity. There are a lot of Slack channels you should pursue, but if you're at Alma La Vida, you should be on it. What do you think, Justice?
Absolutely. And it's a lot of networking and people sharing their resources and their LinkedIn. And it currently, I just checked, has about 3,700 people all actively just communicating and sharing resources and supporting one another. So definitely something that is a benefit of membership, but also definitely, yeah.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there are platforms, Discord, WhatsApp, GitHub, and professional subreddits, and some private recruiting channels. So these are all areas. I'm not going to go into them in great detail because some of them might not be as interesting to you as others. So just consider those, and of course you'll have our notes so you can go back and take a look.
Awesome. And then, of course, how to avoid burnout, because if you're not already feeling it, there's a good chance that you might, because we're just human. That's just how it is. That's how it's set up. So being intentional and being thoughtful and, just taking care of yourself. I can't emphasize this enough. It can be a slippery slope, but just being able to, prioritize that and, take things slow, help avoid burnout. And here's some best practices.
I'm gonna just buzz through this because I
Yeah.
think we all know this, but I would just want to bring it to the forefront and top of mind for you. When we're talking about burnout, we want to be very intentional. We just don't want to throw things out there because that doesn't garner a lot of good results. So when you're on LinkedIn and you're trying this hidden network and networking, what you want to do is reach out to people individually, right? Not just in a mass group. 10 people in the same area in a business. Be intentional about who's going to hopefully give you the most opportunity. And then if not, you can always ask, who would you recommend that I talk to within your organization? And keep your messages when you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn short. They don't have a lot of time. They're going to skim it. I don't know if any of you who have worked with me on resumes, people skim, they don't read. So it's got to be skimmable. And make sure you have a clear ask. I would love to talk to you about opportunities within your organization. To the point, short, not 5 or 6 things, right? Because that's overwhelming. And they're thinking this person's going to take an hour. I've got 15 minutes. So always include either your resume or a forwarder, I can't say
I
it,
can't say,
a
I couldn't say
forward,
that one
a
either.
forwardable blurb. What is that? What does that even mean? It means that, hey, Lisa, I'm exploring new opportunities in coaching, and I would love to know where I could leverage my experience, like a company at Vida. And I would really appreciate any kind of introduction for people in your organization or the hiring managers. That's something someone can send on to somebody else. Yeah, I'm going to forward this to somebody else. I'll forward your message, or I'll copy and paste it in an email and send it on. They don't have to re-summarize what you're looking for. You made it completely easy. And then follow up. Thank you so much. If it's a really great job or a really great company and you got that in, sometimes you can use, or if you want that in and you don't think you're going to get it or you've tried, I would love to have a virtual coffee with you. I'm sending you a $5 Starbucks. That I've never had anyone get turned down by that, but that's expensive. So think about that and really make sure that it works. So, and I always offer value back. Always. What can I do for you? Is there anyone in my connection, my network that I can refer you to or make a connection with? So those are ways to maximize the benefit and minimize the stress and the burnout.
Yeah. And this is just a sample of a snapshot of something that I use for interviews and for conversations. I still to this day, still refer back to conversations that I've had, even just side networking conversations, or, anyone that I connected with. So that way you can track, and that's how you keep those relationships warm. Oh, sure. I talked to Justice like over a year ago, of course, hopefully you don't go that long, but it's been a few months since I've connected with Justice. I'm going to see how his new job at whatever's going. And it could be a simple, like, hey, just thought of you, depending on the relationship you have. But any sort of, networking meetings, whatever it is, keep track of those however you want, however you need, but you will thank yourself later. I promise. And of course, just wrapping this up now, just a few things to remember is just remember, you're not a job seeker. You're not just looking for a job. You are someone actively looking for more information. You're curious. You want to be intentional. Lead with curiosity, and when in doubt, offer your network and referrals. If no matter what, you have a network, people, you have value to offer. And another side note really quick is even with recruiters are always looking for new business. So even if whether you're currently enrolled or currently employed or not, offer connections to your company. So many different ways to do that. In chasing, you don't need to chase every single job, every single company. Hone in, because that is a straight shot towards burnout. Just focus on the right opportunities, what feels right, what feels good. And again, I mentioned this before, do not let this time of year discourage you, because you'd be surprised. Like I said, I was looking for work exactly a year ago, and I had some of the best networking conversations I've had. There was also a little bit less tension and less pressure just that time of year. Yes, admin and certain things are slowing down, but all of those open jobs, those still need to be filled. Recruiters still have their metrics and things that they need to hit. So if anyone's saying, if you read about, things are slowing down, do not entertain that. From my personal experience from being a job search, being a job seeker, but then also being a recruiter, we do not slow down. There's no slowing down this time of year. So get that. We'll just dispel that really quick and use this time to, reconnect and have a little bit more low pressure, low lift conversations. And another thing too, is that a lot changes going into the new year. I had conversations all the way through Thanksgiving, through the holidays, and then even reconnecting in the new year. Hey, I thank you so much for that conversation. Last month, of course, I'm sure it's a new year. Things have changed. Just wanted to check in and kind of see where you're at with said thing or whatever it is that you were, referencing. So remembering that is that come the new year, things will change, budgets will shift, people will move around. It's a great time to follow up and just reconnect with those connections that you had made. All right. I tried so hard to make sure that we had time for questions because there's so much good stuff in here, and hopefully not too overwhelming, but like I said, there's just a lot of different areas that you can go that's not just applying to jobs online.
And then, if anybody has questions, if you want to start typing those out in the chat, there aren't any already there, so we'd love to answer those. But Jill, if you want to go to those next couple of slides, we can get through those while people do type.
Yes.
If you all want to get connected with us, these are QR codes to connect with both Lisa and Jill, and I'm also dropping their LinkedIns in here as well. And then if you want to go to the last slide real quick, Jill, really just want to give a thank you to Lisa and Jill both for all this relevant information. It's really helpful, especially in today where things are just very complicated. It is a really tough market. We also do want to thank you all for being here and just your time today. And we really appreciate just having you and just engaging with you all. And if you like what you heard and are curious to see how coaching could support you in that next step, I personally would love to have a conversation with anyone here who wants to take that next step. And so this is actually a QR code straight to my calendar. And we have a membership option for everyone. If you go back to that poll, we're all in different places and we have different membership options to meet you where you're at. And I'd love to have a conversation deeper to get to know what where you're currently at, what the obstacles are, just to really help you get paired up with the best option and coach for you. And then a little bit of a shameless plug, we are running our Black Friday promotions and there is a promotion for each of those options. And I do have a lot of time on my calendar open next week. So would love to get you in to chat with you and introduce any specials that could be applicable for you. But just want to get all that out there, and this will all be sent in the recap as well. But now it looks like we do have some questions in there. So thank you, everyone. If you do have to drop, we understand, but we do have a few minutes left. And so we have a question from Chris. It says, what's a smart way to find and reach out to recruiters to get on their radars? So when they have a new client with staffing needs that match your experience, your resume shows up in their database.
Yes. So that's great. Love that question. So that's where I was talking about before, where just being intentional with, you don't want to reach out to just any recruiter, any agency, even if it's in-house, in-house meaning it's talent acquisition. So recruiters who are recruiting for that company, or there's recruiters like myself who recruit for agencies. And so agencies meaning, so my agency specifically, we focus on finance and accounting leadership roles in the industrial manufacturing and supply chain logistics space. Now, of course, with that, we don't only work on those, but if you're reaching out to someone, you just want to at least know where their specialty lies. And so that's the first thing. And then second, reaching out, and you can reach out anytime. Recruiters, we don't stop. So if you just wanted to reach out, say, hey, I've been following your posts, or I saw that you're an HR recruiter. I'm really interested in, getting into that space, just would love to stay connected and, just follow along, even if you don't have anything right now. Just be yourself. Don't overthink it. You're a human. There's another human on the other side of that chat, of that screen. But my biggest thing, really, just where you're going to get the best return is just focusing on, or at least reaching out to recruiters in the space that you are looking to get into.
Jill, a question off of that. Someone says that HR and recruiting folk don't necessarily always reply back, but they're getting responses from VPs or directors that are actually just responding to them, but they're not the ones doing the hiring. Is there anything that you would mention specifically to tailor to get a better response rate from recruiters?
That's a great question. Hiring managers feel the pain the closest and the most. So yes, recruiters and HR might be the bottlenecks, and recruiters, they might be, working on a bunch of different roles, whatever it is. If you are not getting responses from HR and recruiters, because more likely than not, you're probably one of a cajillion, but going right to the hiring managers, reading the job descriptions, reaching out to, directors or whoever it might be. Hiring managers feel the pain the most and the quickest. And if the recruiters and HR are not giving them the candidates they want, they'll move things forward. So if you can position yourself early, that is, run with that for sure. I'd highly recommend that.
And then we have time for one more. If you are in an intro interview and you get the very open-ended question, so tell me about yourself, what is your go-to outline to crafting an appropriate answer for that?
Oh gosh, you know what, Lisa, we might have to do that how to that recruiter, how to get past that recruiter screen. Oh gosh, tell me about yourself. Okay, this is a good one. Literally, it could be an entire webinar presentation
Yes,
on itself, but
yes.
I would the short, quick and answer is do not at whatever you do not read off your resume. I would just at least try and find some sort of relevance. So this is I always prep this because people always, even as a recruiter myself, fumble over this one. If you can tie whatever you say back to the company, the mission of the company, or obviously the work. But the biggest thing is trying to tell a story about yourself that is not on LinkedIn or is not on your resume. My kind of not rule, but guidelines is can start off maybe a little bit more personal about yourself, but then keep it professional. But I would, yeah, the biggest thing is just don't read off your resume. But again, tying it back to if you know the company culture a little bit, or you know their mission, or they're in the renewable energy space, or whatever it is that's where doing your research ahead of time really comes into play. So that way you can kind of combine that. So you're speaking their language a little bit, but you still want to be authentic and, just share things that are going to help you stand out from all of the other applicants that are, applying to the same job.
And to add on to that, I'd also remember your degree of separation to that person, because that could also help,
Yes.
say.
Yes, for sure. It takes practice. And like I said, that's a short and quick answer. That alone could be its own presentation, but really good question.
Perfect. All right. Well, we are at time, a little bit over. Again, thank you everyone for spending your time here with us. We do hope to see you at future events. And as we said, this will be sent out in an email recording. So yeah,
And stay
hope
connected.
everyone has a lovely rest of your day. And again, reach out to us if you have any questions or need anything at all.
Thank you
Good luck,
guys. Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.